Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Big Brother 27 Companion episode 9. Now, 9 has an asterisk by it. I apologize for videos not coming up lately. If you saw my Twitter or my Blue Sky, my laptop broke with an error, and it's an error 14, which basically means it's a boot error slash corrupted hard drive, which means you have to reinstall the entire operating system. But in order to do that, there has to be some data transfers, and I don't have the tech to do it because it has to be installed fully fresh, which creates a lot of complications that I do not have the ability to solve, and I'm under warranty, so I have other people go do it for me. But that requires a bit. So I have a spare backup option, which is what I'm using right now, that will not be the long-term plan, but this is a short term, which is why some assets are different, etc. Because I missed some episodes, I do have an episode coming out, a couple over the next couple days, to basically fill in the gaps where things would have gone. So today I'm talking about what would have been episode 9, which is what which I have had recorded before the laptop broke, but had not edited, which is on lies, information, and when lying often is an early game is a better idea, is a bad idea. Whereas lying in the late game can work a lot, lying in the early game is bad, and I want to talk about why. To start with, the inspiration for this is Keanu. Keanu has been a mess with a capital M when it comes to lying, especially. He likes to say the things he thinks the other person wants to hear, and in doing so, he's not building trust. He's instead continuing to sink himself in the game. No one wants to work with him because every time someone talks to him, he tries to say what they want to hear, not what he actually thinks. And in doing so, to do so, he's lying, right? For Rachel, he's telling Rachel, like, oh, I've always liked you. I've never had any hesitations about you. And Rachel's like, oh, come on. This is so nonsense. And of course, in Keanu's head, he's getting one over on Rachel, and getting one over on everybody, but it's so obviously bullshit every single time. The reason why Keanu thinks this is because he's trying to basically withhold information. He's trying to withhold how he really thinks because that is quote unquote bad information. The problem for Keanu is he's in an informational disbalance. That means that his information is less than what other people have. Other people know more about what's going on than he does. Other people know more about what he said than he thinks they know. This means that he's saying things under the impression of what he thinks they know versus what they actually know, right? Lying is at its core only works if there's an informational disbalance. If I know something that you don't, and I'm telling you one thing and you don't have the way to prove it, you'll believe it. Especially if you trust me, you'll believe me. Whereas if I'm telling you something and you have a way to prove it wrong, you immediately know I'm lying and your trust in me plummets, right? Trust in a game like Big Brother is a currency. You build it up over time. You tell people that you're true to your word and that things you say will happen, and so your trust goes up. When someone like Keanu lies and is caught, his trust plummets quickly. You lose a lot more trust by being caught in a lie than you get by proving you're telling the truth and true to your word. Now, that being said, it is valuable to say be true to your word, conditional on some different things. We'll talk about Adrian in a second in that capacity. But for Keanu, he's running into this problem because Rachel, whoever, knows more than he does about what he's doing, right? So his lack of information about what Rachel knows is leading to him saying things are false. And now Keanu's in such a hole that it doesn't really matter what he says because everything is immediately assumed to be a lie. Keanu is not out of it because he's obviously, in this case, has the power, which he's used, won the veto via Casey. Like I said, this is a skip. This is a bit different because I'm not trying to use data information. I'm trying to use today information with the analysis. But Keanu still has a long way to go to even kind of recover because he's such a serial liar. And it creates problems because people don't trust that what he says is true. On the flip side, you have someone like Adrian, who people actually trust what Adrian says is pretty true. Adrian's made a big deal of being true to his word. He's done things that are quote unquote bad for his game in return because he's true to his word. And the problem, though, with Adrian is that what he's doing right now is great for the end game, for the point at which he wants to start lying, right? For the point at which the information flows are less and he can lie. The problem Adrian has is he doesn't have the social connections to mitigate the game cost by being true to your word or by the actions required to be true to his word, right? He's promised that he would vote for Amy Tuesday. He's going to commit to his word and be truthful. But what that tells people is, oh, you're not on our side. And because Adrian doesn't have the relationship with people like Jimmy, people like Morgan, Mickey, etc., Adrian is not on a strong enough foothold to be able to stay safe, to be able to not be distrusted because of it, or not distrusted, but not to be viewed as a threat or someone against you, right? Because it's all great that I can trust what somebody says, but if they're going to go against me, that's always very alarming, right? Now, especially, or if they're on the other side, then that's alarming. Now, there's a point in the game in which people start to say it's better the devil I know than the devil I don't, in which someone like Adrian can get a lot of credit and a lot of success because people will say, oh, well, I don't know where this person stands. I know where Adrian stands and he's coming for me, but I think this person's coming for me and that's more dangerous because I know what Adrian means. The problem is Adrian at this point in the game doesn't have the connections, doesn't have the history. And so people view him as much more dangerous than they would if it had been longer in the game, because he is doesn't have the relational connections. Where someone like Zach, who did vote against A and has been open about it, is someone people trust and want to work with. In this case, Jimmy had him in the alliance. You have the big hitters. They like Zach is in the initial like, HOH conversation, which is really impressive, and has like an actual say in the direction of Jimmy's HOH. And that is because Zach has the relational connections that mean that when he's saying his word, people believe him, but also don't care as much. Whereas for Adrian, that's not the truth. In this case, Adrian is building a lot of trust, which is great, but he doesn't have the relational connections. You know, obviously, telling the truth or lying, these are not like end all be all. Someone who lies a lot can still do okay in the game. Someone who tells the truth a lot, always can do really bad in the game. I actually see a lot of examples of that, right? The problem is that, like, at the end of the day, these are all pieces that make up a game rather than the specific exclusions. That being said, when you lie all the time and you're caught all the time, your ability to succeed is it's very hard for you. It's not that it's unrecoverable for someone like Keanu, but what he needs to do is not something he's currently willing to do. At the end of the day, lying, especially early game, is really bad. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, you don't have a lot of trust, and two, the flow of information is way higher because there are more people, there are more connections, there are more alliances, there's more information you don't know by sake of there being so many people that that it's very risky to tell lies, and it's very easy to get caught because information is a currency, right? A currency, and in this case, is a currency with the fewer people who know it, right? If you know something that other people don't, that means you can do some stuff and you know how to act around stuff that other people don't know. This means that you have a power of sorts. You have a way to build trust, to give things away in return for agreements, and give knowledge to show trust and that you care about somebody or help somebody's game. But at the end of the day, information is also a currency that once you give it out to somebody, its value plummets rapidly. You're seeing this notably with Mickey's HOH power, which had a lot of power if no one knows about it, and then its power drops pretty rapidly as people learn that Mickey has it. Because the way the HOH power works is that if you have this power, your HOH is overthrown. You can overthrow an HOH, but if someone says, "Oh, it's Mickey who did this on me," then Mickey gets a lot in trouble. And a lot of people are starting to have a lot of suspicion of Mickey. Telling Morgan, while Morgan herself hasn't leaked, there's some evidence that Ashley may have overheard something that implied that to Ashley that Morgan has some sort of power, Mickey has some sort of power. And it creates that the flow of information is rapidly increasing. The information value is a lot lower. When no one knows that this HOH power exists, that means you can lie about it to other people. You can take shots that you would not be able to take if your name was in front of it. You can mislead people about who the HOH is. You can do a lot of things. But when everyone knows you're the secret HOH, it's just the same as a normal HOH, right? It loses that power, which is still powerful. But then if enough people know you have this power before you've even done it, then you have no power. Because let's say my best ally is Will, and Mickey doesn't trust Will, and Mickey tries to overthrow Will. I can say, "Hey, Will, look, I want you to be HOH. I have information that will protect you. It's Mickey who has his power." And all of a sudden, if Will guesses Mickey, then I've protected HOH, or protected Will from losing his HOH, right? This is true in a lot of different capacities. And so the flow of information is a key piece of the ability to lie, the ability to deceive, right? The more information that's out there, the harder it is for Mickey to lie about not having his power, right? The more information that's out there, it means it's harder for Keanu to lie in general. And as once you've built a low enough hole, anything you say is just not trusted. So that is a couple different thoughts on lies, truth, manipulation. In late game, lying is actually kind of important because you have a lot of trust with players and the flow of information is quite low because there's so few people. So a lie has a lot more room to stand. And it's really important to being able to make it to the end game when you have those informational balances and you can do things that other people don't realize you're doing. But at this point in the game, with so many people, not really easy to do. And someone like Keanu, who gets no info, because no one really talks to Keanu, is at such a deficit in terms of information that every time he lies, he gets nothing for himself, and if anything, continually digs himself a deeper and deeper hole. I mean, he's reaching the Mariana Trench in terms of deepness, but it is what it is. Thank you guys so much. I will have more videos up over the next day and tomorrow, and I will be caught up on day 14, hopefully by Thursday, but we'll see. Thank you guys so much. Bye.